The Dodgers are not done making trades in this offseason. The latest report suggests that a couple players are on their way out. We get into all that in this edition of Dodgers Digest. Hey, this is Mike Nelson. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I want to thank the 71% of the ones who are watching these videos who have already hit the sub button, but 28% who have not subscribed yet. You know, myself, Brad J, we're bringing you everyday Dodger content, even during the offseason. You're not going to find content like this anywhere else on YouTube. We're the best Dodger channel out there, so make sure to hit the sub button. Let's get right into it. The Dodgers can make another big trade before spring training. This was just published a couple hours ago, a massive report to say the least. The Dodgers have expressed a strong interest, of course, in signing free agent pitcher Roki Sasaki, and also trying to acquire another reliever is something that the Dodgers are, strongly thinking about, right? Just to add to that bullpen in case they have injuries. As we know, the Dodgers had the best bullpen in the 2024 season, but it never hurts to have another bullpen arm, and this is where the Dodgers need to make space on the 40-man roster, which could be bad news for a couple players, according to this article. And those players that are on this report coming from Sonja Chen of MLB.com, she has reported that Miguel Rojas, Chris Taylor, and James Outman are possible trade pieces for the Dodgers. That's right, Rojas, Taylor, and Outman on the way out. So let's get right into it. What do you think? Do you guys think that all three players are going to be traded? Do you believe that report? Personally, I don't buy the Rojas idea. I think Miguel Rojas is going to stay with the Dodgers in the 2025 season. I think his trade value is just not very high for the Dodgers even to consider trading him. Sure, they might try to include him in a package deal for reliever, but really, will somebody want him at this point in his career? I just don't see it. I think Rojas is staying with the Dodgers in 25, but Chris Taylor and James Outman, I don't think we're going to see these guys next year, or we're already in 25. I don't think we're going to see these guys next season. I really think both of these players are going to be, traded. I think, having Hernandez now, signing Teoscar Hernández and potentially signing Kike Hernandez as well, right? Let's not forget that Kike Hernandez could get signed as well as a free agent, and also the pickup of Michael Conforto just makes it very hard for Outman and Taylor to get playing time. And now you also have Kim, right? Kim is a super utility player that's going to be playing all over the field. So where does Taylor and Outman really fit? Now, James Outman, sure, he was one of the baseball's best rookies in 23. Let's not forget the guy had a great 2023 season. But what happened in 24? His numbers definitely declined at the plate, as a batter. And I think the Dodgers, would consider moving on from him at this point. And Chris Taylor is another situation where the Dodgers are paying a lot of money for Chris Taylor. Let's not forget they gave him a big contract extension just a couple years ago, and they're still on the hook for a few more years with Chris Taylor. So I think it would be smart to move Chris Taylor. The question is, can they, right? I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to. Comment below, what do you guys think? Do you think the Dodgers can trade Chris Taylor and get anything substantial in return? Let's focus first on Taylor. I mean, can the Dodgers really get something back for him if they were to just say, we straight trade Chris Taylor? I'm sure they tried trading for Devin Williams just a few months ago, and were the Dodgers kind of trying to package Taylor with Lux for Williams? That could have potentially been the offer, right? Lux and Taylor, obviously Lux being the centerpiece, and then Taylor kind of being, on that trade as well. But I don't know. I think teams are definitely hesitant when it comes to Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor is a player that sure was a big impact player for the Dodgers in years past, right? Especially, 21, hitting that home run. I was at that game at the the National League Wild Card game, right? Let's not forget he had a walk-off homer against the Cardinals, right? Back in the 2021 season, Chris Taylor, probably his biggest moment as a Major League Baseball player. But, the last 3 years, it just hasn't really been what the Dodgers expect from Chris Taylor, right? He has definitely struggled. Yeah, he had injuries as well, kind of started the 25 season injured. He wasn't, of course, healthy to start the year, and it kind of just affected him the entire 25 season. And he never really got into rhythm or became a factor on this team in a World Series winning team. So I think his trade value definitely diminished after the 25 season, right? The Dodgers had thought of trading him after the 24 season, my mistake. After the 24 season, Taylor's value definitely went down. Maybe if they would have traded him after the 23 season, they would get more back for Chris Taylor, right? But at this point, there probably isn't a lot there, to give for Chris Taylor because of just his numbers have been on the decline. Now, James Outman is a player, like I mentioned, one of the best rookies in 23, and had a rough 24, but the upside is still there. And I think the Dodgers are the ones that are probably hesitating on whether they want to trade James Outman or not, right? Because obviously the Dodgers don't want to just throw him away, send him to some team, and he becomes an all-star, ends up hitting a walk-off home run at Dodger Stadium with him wearing another jersey, right? Well, not a walk-off, but you know what I mean. Hitting a home run in the ninth inning to, take the lead and win the game eventually, right? A go-ahead home run, right? You can't do a walk-off if you're a road team. But anyway, the Dodgers don't want him to become a star on another team, right? And James Outman is a young player. The Dodgers are trying to have, at the same time, I think they're trying to be patient with him, right? They want to kind of see how he develops. And to trade him away at this point, it does seem like a risk, but I do think they're considering it, right? And personally, I predict that I think both of them do get traded. I think Taylor and Outman are going to get traded. The Dodgers, of course, trying to make room, another roster spot for Sasaki. And let's not forget Clayton Kershaw, right? He doesn't have a roster spot right now, but if the Dodgers can move some players out to create some space for Clayton Kershaw, that's going to also play into that, right? Because the Dodgers, it's kind of weird. We haven't heard much on Clayton Kershaw the last few weeks. Of course, we know he opted out, became a free agent. There was reports soon after that the Dodgers were going to sign Clayton Kershaw, but there hasn't really been much after that, right? I think the Dodgers obviously are still interested in bringing back Clayton Kershaw. Personally, I wouldn't bring him back. I think the Dodgers should move on from Clayton Kershaw. I think it's the right time for the Dodgers to let him go, and he can continue his career with another team. I don't think Clayton Kershaw is a player that brings any impact anymore on the field. He's a player that simply is just going to be basically another manager in the clubhouse, right? I mean, basically what he is, just going to help the young guys because on the field, come on, Clayton Kershaw is basically finished, right? And I think the Dodgers are kind of realizing that, and that's why they haven't really signed him. But we don't know. The Dodgers could make some trades, create some roster space for him, and sign him, right? To a one-year deal, I assume, because you would assume that this is going to be Clayton Kershaw's last year, regardless of where he plays, right? I mean, I can't see him coming back for another 2 years, especially after the injuries he has been having. But the Dodgers going to make some trades. It's looking like it. It's going to be an interesting, the offseason is still not done. There's still going to be a lot more topics to talk about. As always, make sure to subscribe, and let's go Dodgers. Woo!